Today's episode is brought to you by the Positively Productive Toolkit, a collection of workbooks that guide you through self-discovery and self-awareness. These self-guided workbooks, which include links to assessments, can be completed in minutes. Request this free resource and others at the positivelyproductive.com/resources page. Now, when change happens, you may feel unsure how to move forward. And I suspect that shakeup is one of the reasons why we struggle to embrace or initiate change in the first place. Besides that, we like familiarity. We tend to resist change naturally anyhow. And then when we can't figure out what it's going to look like or what we're going to do next, again, we want to hide our heads in the sand. We resist that uncertainty, and I understand why. You're listening to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Zaratny, founder of Positively Productive Systems and a productivity coach certified in positive psychology and stress management. Join me as we explore ways to live a more proactive, positive life with episodes on productivity, self-awareness, mindset, entrepreneur life, habits and systems, simplicity, fun, and more. I understand overwhelm personally as a multi-passionate entrepreneur, wife and mom to kids and cats, and as a caregiver. I'm here to help you choose what's right for you so you can do less, live more, and breathe easier. Sound good? Let's get to it. Welcome to the Positively Living Podcast. I'm your host, Lisa, and I'm so grateful you've joined me today for an episode that's especially close to my heart. It's something I've experienced so much of, and it's something we all face, whether we're ready for it or not. Change. This episode also marks another milestone for me. As episode 275, I'm 5 years into podcasting and only 25 episodes away from 300, which is a very rare feat for most podcasters. It's kind of wild. Part of me feels like I'm not sure how I got here, but the other part knows exactly how I did. And as you might expect, the episodes you hear now are far different from those in my first year. In style, in topics, the types of guests, and that's a good thing. When I began the podcast, I came at it as an experienced guest and a podcast listener, which is a solid starting point, but I had a lot to learn on how to create content for my audience, how to get better at it, and to host in a way that would serve my listeners and my guests. Over the years, I've refined my topics, welcomed more and more experienced and varied guests, updated my branding. I even adjusted my tagline to shame-free productivity conversations, which really captures the heart of what I do and what I'm about. I've changed my introductions multiple times, improved my sound quality, worked with my team at Galati Media to make this podcast the best it possibly can be, and to learn and grow in terms of what the industry demands. I've embraced continuous improvement, and it's a value I hold dear. So when I describe it now, that sounds like a lot of change, and it is, but it didn't happen all at once. And much of it I couldn't have anticipated because we don't know what we don't know. And over time, new things and new opportunities come out that there's no way for us to know until we're in the moment. All of those changes that I mentioned happened in small increments over time. Each required careful consideration, and honestly, while I was in the middle of them, I didn't always feel confident. Some of it was experimental and just making the best choices I could at the time. Now, looking back, I can celebrate them. But at the time, I felt uncertain and often uncomfortable. That's the thing about change. It's much easier to embrace and celebrate it once you've come through it than when you're facing it head on. Sometimes it takes a leap of faith. You have to work with what you know, take steps, look for feedback, course correct, maybe change again, and most importantly, trust in yourself as you do it. It reminds me of Soren Kierkegaard's famous quote, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards." We can only make sense of our experiences after they've happened, but we have to make choices now with an uncertain future. And uncertainty, that can be so nerve-wracking. It's often why we fall into analysis paralysis and struggle to move forward at all. We're scared to make the wrong move, and sometimes it can feel easier to not move at all. But it's not going to get us anywhere doing that. Now, we've talked about some of this on the show already. Years ago, Nicole Mixdorf and I talked about embracing change. We explored why change is so hard, why we fear it, why we resist it, and often assume that it's the worst thing instead of potentially a good thing. We talked about change at the end of 2020, so the timing was purposeful and really important for us. We were coming through our first year of a major pandemic that would end up having far-reaching impact on us all for many years to come. And it's easy to see how we could struggle with the idea of change when it comes through something so catastrophic. But even knowing the context, knowing why this happened, and that it happened for a negative reason, we can see the positive. We now know how much good came out of that time as well. And no matter why change happens, whether it's thrust upon you or it was your idea, understanding and embracing change helps you handle it better and make the most of it. And that's why I wanted to address it today. Last year, around this time, I added to the conversation with an episode on figuring out your next steps after major life shifts. Now, when change happens, you may feel unsure how to move forward. And I suspect that shakeup is one of the reasons why we struggle to embrace or initiate change in the first place. Besides that, we like familiarity. We tend to resist change naturally anyhow. And then when we can't figure out what it's going to look like or what we're going to do next, again, we want to hide our heads in the sand. We resist that uncertainty, and I understand why. But if you have a better sense of the steps you can take to move forward, regardless for the reason of the change, regardless of whose idea it was, it can help you see the opportunity that's in it and build your confidence to take those steps and to trust. Today, I wanted to revisit this topic because I think we all need the review and the reassurance. In addition to whatever we're going through personally, and we're always going through something personally, right? We are also all going through significant changes as a society. And I know it weighs a lot on me. So I wanted to share this topic again with you and offer a few simple ways you can navigate change and uncertainty with more confidence, compassion, and curiosity so you can make the most of it. Here are 5 ways to manage your relationship with change and the uncertainty it brings with it. Number 1, reframe change as growth. Even when change feels disruptive and negative, even when it really is, it still brings opportunities for growth if you're willing to look for it. As a caregiver who went through sleepless nights, massive amounts of stress, and painstaking stages of losing my mom, losing her in pieces, as a disease like Alzheimer's will do, it is easy to see that as negative, and there is a lot of negative in there. I honor that. But when I tell my story in interviews, when I talk to fellow sandwich caregivers and I try to reassure them, I am reminded of what I've learned and how I've grown. I'm here coaching and podcasting with you today because of that time, because of those experiences, because I made it through and I learned so much that I want to share. I have more patience and more empathy than I ever would have believed I could because of what I went through. It's made me a better person. Was it hard? Most definitely. Was it worth it? Also, yes, I truly believe it was. If you can see change as a chance to learn, you shift from fear to possibility. And when you do that and you keep yourself open, then you are open to the opportunity. As you're dealing with and maybe even choosing change, ask yourself, what could this change make possible? What would it open up? How might I change as a person as a result? And what could that mean for me and for others around me? Number two, focus on what you can control. And this is so important with anything that happens in our lives. When so much feels uncertain, it's imperative to step back and find what you actually have control over. You can't control the change that's happening most times, or even the many outcomes that happen. Okay, you can't control what other people think. You can't control what other people do, but you can control your mindset, what you choose to do next, and the way you care for yourself during that transition. This is where routines and comforting, calming practices, grounding practices, for example, and celebrating small wins and practicing gratitude, all of that can create a strong foundation to hold you through the change. Ask yourself, what can I do right now? Whether to assuage the impact or lean into the change, stop fighting it and flow with it. Ask yourself, where do I have control and how can I act on that? And I also want to add that there's an element of also acknowledging where you do not have control. That kind of goes into that Mel Robbins, like, let them kind of thing. You're going to have people reacting in a certain way, offering certain energy that's not going to be healthy for you, people who are going to be worried and express things. You are going to have people making choices regarding the change that you may not agree with. And this is where boundaries are really important. You have to let them, and you have to pay the most attention to where you have the control and the actions that you want to take. Don't let that toxic energy infiltrate the choices that you are making. That will help you so much. Number three is to approach change in small steps. This is especially true when you're choosing to change something. Now, if it's something you're experiencing from another source, from someone else, from a situation that you don't necessarily have control over, something that you didn't choose, then you want to focus in and approach your mindset and what you can control in small steps. It's more like controlling how you're reacting. But when you're the one ready to make change happen, or at least wanting to try, it's crucial to approach it in bite-sized pieces. You don't have to transform everything at once. I understand when you are so done with things and you want to make change and you want to burn it all down. And sometimes there is demolish everything to the studs and rebuild. But you want to be careful with that, okay? You don't want to necessarily try to do everything at once. You still have to pace yourself. You still have to understand what you're capable of, what you have the time for, the bandwidth for. So transforming everything all at once is rarely possible and rarely a good idea. Just proceed with caution. Most of the time, your best idea is to break change down into manageable steps. Project management, basically, and give yourself time to adapt. That's the other part of this equation. It's not only what you can change, but what you can get used to, that you can adapt to, that you get your mind and your heart used to so that it's sustainable. That's the key here. Now, the changes that I made to this podcast are a great example of doing it bit by bit. I did things that made sense at the time and that I had the means to do, that I had the bandwidth to do. Each one was small, but together they've been so transformative. They've been a cumulative change, or a cumulative impact, I should say. This same principle applies to habit development, which we talk about here all the time. Tiny steps don't feel like much in the moment, but they add up. If you're trying to change something in your life, consider setting micro goals. Point yourself in the direction of the change that you want. And then ask yourself, what's one small step I can take today? One small step I can take this week? And keep asking yourself that and keep taking that step. At some point, you're going to pause and look back and be so impressed with the steps that you took. You have to trust it in the moment, though, when it doesn't feel like much, that it is the first in so many steps that you will be taking if you trust the process and you repeat it. Number 4 is to build your support system and use it. There's 2 parts to this. If you've experienced any kind of change in life, especially the kind that's a hardship, you know how essential a support system is. Actually, even when it's not a hardship, having a support system to cheer you on is incredibly important for your motivation and your momentum. Building and nurturing a support system is so important for any aspect of change, whether it's friends, family, mentors, or even a community like this podcast. Having people who get you, who you can talk to and learn from and grow with, makes uncertainty less overwhelming. This is why hiring a coach can be so effective, especially if the coach has had similar experiences or knowledge of what you're going through, and it can help you anticipate what you need and steps to take, or at least create plans that are more likely to anticipate your needs. On a super personal note, one of the things my family had to go through that I don't talk about much was a huge financial trauma. Just after I survived caregiving for my mom while caring for my babies, my husband lost his job. We had already lost money caring for my mom, and his layoff pretty much did us in. We ended up trying to sell our home and moving across the state to recover. We did, but it wasn't without the help of a massive support system from family that helped us move and store our lives and encourage us as we tried to start over, to friends who clothed my children in hand-me-downs and, helped us fix things that needed fixing without charging us, to clients who hired me and referred me and were willing to be flexible and go to virtual client work as opposed to meeting in person. All of it made such a huge difference to us. And also as a family, we were our own support system for each other. That time was probably the most uncertain I can remember feeling possibly ever. And as you can imagine, I'm trying to deal with this, and then I'm struggling to help my children through it and explain it to them. And it's hard to explain the inexplicable, really. They were in elementary school at the time, and the idea of moving and uprooting their lives, it was a lot for them. And on top of that, we didn't even have a plan. We had no idea what might be next. We had to make choice after choice based on what we had to work with. So the best answer I came up for them was simply this: I have no idea where we're going, but we're going together. Let this be your reminder that you don't have to go through change alone. If you are going through change, and especially the kind that's a hardship, reach out, share your fears, ask for perspective and support. Trust that people want to help you. I know it can be humbling, but remember that helping others is as much of a gift to the people helping as it is to the ones being helped. Let those people that care for you do that for you, and it will help you through. Number 5 is to practice self-compassion. Change can bring mistakes, a lot of them, missteps, and so much discomfort. Sometimes it feels like your fault. Sometimes you don't handle it well because we're built to reject change, to dislike it. So it can be awkward and sometimes bring out the worst in you. Now is the time you need to give yourself permission to be human. Self-compassion helps you stay resilient and keeps you moving forward. It allows you to stay in a mental place of innovation so that you can troubleshoot, you can course correct, and you can keep moving, not letting those mistakes hold you back. Because that's just insult to injury, right? You're already struggling, and then you're letting your mindset about those mistakes keep you from trying something else. That will keep you stuck. You're not supposed to have it all figured out right away. Whoever said that is trying to sell you something. Don't buy it. When you're feeling shame and guilt and frustration, remind yourself that mistakes mean you're learning, and change brings out a lot of that. Hang in there. In those 5 things, you'll find topics we cover repeatedly on the podcast, such as celebrating wins, developing habits, and compassion, embracing that, especially for yourself. When you head to the podcast page of the website, positivelyproductive.com/podcast, you'll find a number of preset playlists on those topics, like habits and stress management, and even one for solo episodes just like this one, which are most often the ones where we dig deeper into these topics. You may want to check those out because there's going to be a lot of follow-up to this topic, especially if you want to dig deeper. You can also use the search bar and type in keywords, and the blog posts and episode players will come up for you with regard to those keywords, so there'll be a lot of options. With so many episodes now, this is an easier way to navigate the podcast and, most importantly, focus on the topics that will serve you right now. I would love for you to listen to many episodes, but what I care more about is that you get to the episodes you need right now so that you can take steps to be happier and more productive. As we finish this episode, I want to remind you that while change and uncertainty are inevitable, they don't have to derail you. By seeing them as an opportunity, focusing on what you can do, taking it step by step, even the tiniest steps, seeking support throughout, and giving yourself some grace while you do it, you can navigate seasons of change with more ease. And if you're in the middle of change right now, I am sending you so much encouragement. Take a breath. Take some advice from today's episode, even one thing that sounds doable, and take heart. You've adapted before and you will again. I look forward to chatting with you again in the next episode. Thank you for joining me today. Your time is precious and I'm honored you chose to spend it with me. If you have feedback or questions, you can find me through the Connect page of the positivelyproductive.com website. And if you're looking for any of the resources mentioned here, from books to products to training and more, go to positivelyproductive.com/resources.